Major rivers further north in New South Wales are also under threat. The beautiful landscapes surrounding the Mudgee region may be the next to disappear. This region is famous for its wine and honey and boasts a rapidly expanding tourism and fine food industry. Its natural environs are still relatively unknown, especially along the Goulburn River, with its stunning sandstone gorges.
This is the Drip, or the Great Dripping Wall. It has a lot of history to do with the local people, both Indigenous and European. The actual wall, Great Dripping Wall, drips from springs that are fed from groundwater back off the cliff. It is a very fragile formation in that it's overhang. The Longwall mine is proposing to come within about 200, 230 metres of this feature, and we're very concerned that any sort of ground movements that are instigated by the collapse of the Longwall will either fracture or crack this, could even, worst case scenario, bring it down. Even if it just cracks it, it could make it very unsafe for people to visit. And it is a really significant feature of, I think, of national significance, but at least of regional significance. We have people here who come to our accommodation and visit this area here, the Drip, the Great Dripping Wall, and they sort of compare it on a par to Kakadu and the Blue Mountains heritage area. So there's lots of people that hold it in great regard, and I think any risk for mining is too much.
This will be the third coal mine affecting the Goulburn River.
Ulan coal mines started up in the mid-1980s, and the first thing they did was divert the river. This diversion was very unsympathetic with the whole area. It removed alluvial aquifers. It destroyed quite a section of the river. The result is that we have a very unstable, eroding channel, very unaesthetic, very ugly. Also, the sediment that collects on the bottom gets washed further down into the national park and down through these gorge areas here, and that affects the sandy base from the point of view of increasing the nutrients and hence the algae build-up. So we have an ongoing legacy of this diversion. They've now come back and want to put another mine in opposite this diversion and actually mine all the catchment that runs into to the top end of the Goulburn, the Moolarben area, as well as underground mine up within far too close to these cliffs and gorges that are in this more wild section of the river. Mudgee is a very diverse economy anyway. It has tourism, it has farming, it has an abattoir, it already has an existing mine. And from the point of view of jobs, already I think the maximum amount of people could be employed by the two existing approved mines.
Actually, they've got to employ no locals. They've got to advertise it to locals, but they're not necessarily going to give us a job. They'll give us 2% of the work, which is really nothing. Unless you've got the qualifications, you won't get a start anyway. So, as in feeding the locals, none.
The area does have a future from the tourism point of view, but the water is one of its greatest assets, of far more value than the coal in the long term.
Mine sites can be remediated and should be remediated and rehabilitated properly. We are aware that there have been some problems in this area in the past. We believe that remediation in the difficult ones has been by and large successful.
The mining corporations claim that they can repair the damage to rivers via remediation techniques.
There have been a number of remediation techniques which have been attempted to reduce the damage from longwall mining to river systems. Those include grouting of cracks in riverbeds, also putting what are called vertical slots in some of the rock strata around riverbeds to reduce the stresses that are involved, and also environmental flow releases to make up for some of the lost flows as a result of bed cracking. Unfortunately, none of those techniques have yielded anything like the benefits that are required to restore a river to its proper natural functions. A classic example is Marnie's waterhole on the Georges River, where the vertical slot technique was attempted to prevent damage to that as a result of longwall mining activity, and unfortunately it wasn't as successful as one might have hoped. The water hole was still damaged and there was a loss of flows.
That's actually the hole they drilled and they plugged to seal the bottom of the bedrock. So they, in theory, bring the water back to the top.
Which doesn't happen, of course.
It doesn't.
And in any case, filling riverbeds with grout or other types of compounds can hardly be seen to be a natural process, and it's really not helpful for aquatic ecosystems.
Did the BHP once. I said their remediation of the riverbed, what do they think? They sit on the right-hand side of God. I mean, you can't repair something that Mother Nature's taken years, billions of years to fix. I don't think you can repair a riverbed once it's cracked. But they think they can.
The only way to protect river ecosystems and the values of those areas is to manage things properly and prevent damage in the first place by not longwall mining under sensitive habitats.
What we've found generally, the information I have, is that some of this cracking is of a temporary nature in terms of loss of water, and that there's a self-healing process or self-remediating process. Where that hasn't occurred, for instance, along South Wambo Creek, the company carried out a $1.6 million remediation program, which I understand has been successful in addressing the particular problem.
The mining company has told the Minister that it's been successful. If you call success grass and trees, it is successful. And in effect what they're doing is actually burying our creek under a massive amount of sand, soil, silt and everything else. Well, where we're standing is actually in what used to be the backbone of the property. My grandfather bought it back around about 1923 for the fact that it did have a permanent stream. It's never let him down, never let anyone down, even right up to the point of mining. From there on in we've had a gradual demise of the creek. The mine was never allowed, according to consent conditions, to go anywhere near it, but they did.
The coal mine under Wambo Creek is just one of the 36 coal mines located in the Hunter region.